Picture this. One moment you're on top of the world. Everyone on Roblox knows who you are. Your game is doing well and everyone loves you. What could go wrong? I mean, it's not like everybody's gonna hate your game the next day. And then a second later, bam, everything just stops. People hate your game. Not because the game sucks, or they got bored, or there was a bad update, because of you. Yeah, imagine losing your entire career because of what you did. Well, in today's video, I'm going to be going over a couple games that got ruined because of their developers. And the first game I'm going to talk about is Dead Rails. Now, Dead Rails is a really fun game, actually. Now, in Dead Rails, the whole concept is basically you're on a train and you want to get to the end. It's a very basic concept, yet people were able to make content off of it and have fun. And the goal is to get to the end, and you basically have a coal system and a class system. Similar to 99 Nights in the Forest with the classes system, it kept people hooked and people loved it. The game was initially really hyped up by the developer and his team, Rico Miller. Rico Miller has made lots of games like The Night Shift and owns one of the biggest Roblox game studios with about 5 million members. Dead Rails reached 5 billion visits in no time. But the problem with Dead Rails wasn't that it was boring or that, the updates sucked or that, it was just plain old stupid. It was because the developer never updated it. Rico Miller has been known for making good games, but he doesn't know how to maintain them. Basically, as the second Dead Rails dropped, people loved it, but after months there were no updates. In fact, there wasn't a major update until 2 months after the game released. That's 2 months of doing the same thing over and over. And the thing with new Roblox players is that they get bored of games really easily, which is why Dead Rails' average player count fell from just above 1 million players to 500,000, then 100,000, and now sits barely above 20,000. Dead Rails lost everything because of its own developer team, because they couldn't update the game. Now, Dead Rails is still a popular game, but it seems that it's only 10% of the game that it once was. Now, the next game we're going to talk about is Grow Garden. Now, Grow Garden has tons of different devs. However, there are two main devs involved, Jandel and BMW Lux. Now, a quick recap. Jandel and BMW Lux are the two owners of Grow Garden. Jandel popularized the game. BMW Lux was the initial owner and creator. Now, the game is where you just garden. It's a pretty simple game. You have a farm and you grow plants. You water the plants, you sell the plants, and you buy new seeds to do the same thing over and over. And yeah, it's a really stupid and boring process, but everybody found it fun at the time. However, the developers have some controversies behind the scenes. Now, BMW Lux has done some really horrible stuff. He used to take down games that were random games, small games with about 1,000 players, right? He would take them down and abuse Roblox's DMCA against their policies, which could completely terminate and IP ban his account forever. And then he would completely recreate that game in time for the developers to appeal. Once the original games were appealed, BMW Lux's games would blow up, making it so the original games would never blow up and they would be stuck under 1,000 players, while BMW Lux was making tons of money doing this. And he also had another game developer that he was working with by the name of Josh. Him and Josh were supposed to evenly split revenue to this game that they were working on. But the second the game got popular, BMW Lux decided, hey, I'm going to take all of it. And he basically kicked out Josh and said, if you tell anyone, I will leak your address. And said, don't worry, Josh, I have your address. Some really horrible stuff. Basically, he's doxing and abusing the Roblox DMCA tools, which is real horrible, and the doxing part would actually be illegal. It's really bad. However, he was not seen as the primary owner, as most people didn't even know who he was, but definitely his controversy made Grow Garden look pretty bad, as the main developer, Jandel, actually defended his actions, probably only because he didn't want to get, kicked out of the dev team. Jandel has done some things himself too. Now, for starters, Jandel hasn't done anything illegal or wrong, but he's basically abandoned Grow Garden. Ever since the end of August, he's basically just been distant with the game. He's not done that many admin abuses by himself with, another developer doing it. And he's drifted towards his new game, Plants vs. Brainrot. And as Grow Garden continues to die and dip under 100,000, it seems that these developers have both completely killed their game, one due to controversy and one due to moving on. This next game that got ruined is made by a notorious developer. He is known for making good games, but never updating them. Now, Roy Stanford and Charcoal made Rainbow Friends all the way back in 2021. Quick recap of who they are. Roy Stanford has made numerous games that got really successful, but it seems that he has a really bad track record when it comes to updating. It seems that he knows how to make a big game, but he does not know how to update it and bring new concepts in. Charcoals has had a smaller history of games with minimal success, as Rainbow Friends is both of their most successful game. There are some pretty successful developers right there. And here's the thing, Rainbow Friends is a pretty simple game. It's one of those horror games that kids were playing back then, like maybe 3 years ago. It was the most popular game. Basically, the whole objective is there's nights. Each night, a new monster comes into the game. The first night we have Blue. Basically, he will jump scare you when you're not in your box, which you can use the box to make it so the entities go away. Now, each night a new monster or entity comes in, and they have different strengths and weaknesses that you can use to your advantage. And each night you have a goal to get one object. That's a pretty simple concept that could get boring really quickly. But here's the thing. People were hooked because of the things like the boxes, which the boxes you could use to protect yourself. There were different skins for them. And tons of other stuff kept people addicted, like YouTubers doing challenges in the game. It let people continue to think more ideas for the game. However, here's the thing. It took a whole 2 years for the first official update to come out for this game. The first update was the second chapter after the first. That took 2 whole years. In fact, since the second chapter, there have been no updates. The last time the game actually updated was 2024 May. That's a year and a half ago. That's a long, long time. And I don't believe that they're preparing a big update. No, it seems that the game has been abandoned, as both of the actual developers seem to be pretty inactive. If you check their accounts, it seems that they haven't really changed up their avatars or they haven't really been doing much recently. And it seems that the game sort of just got abandoned because the developers don't know what to do with it. And yeah, that's sort of why Rainbow Friends died. Not because of a bad update, because of no update. The next developer that ruined their own game was the developer of Forsaken. Now, Forsaken is a pretty simple game where you play as one of the characters from the Roblox, from Roblox, like maybe a hacker or maybe Builderman, and the goal is to not die. And yeah, it's a pretty simple concept and all, but the developers have some real bad controversies. Now, the initial owner of the game, Soldier of Love, has been caught doing some really bad stuff. First, he was funding hate crimes. A guy by the name of Fungus was committing a lot of hate crimes, and he actually stabbed someone due to their race and was saying multiple things. And in fact, if you didn't know, Fungus is actually a racist person, and Soldier of Love was funding him even after he got caught doing all this, saying that people can change. When how can someone change after they've committed a whole hate crime? Not only that, but Soldier of Love has had a picture of a 16-year-old at the time and actually threatened to leak it, which is literal possession of and threatened to leaking, which is really horrible. And the fact that Soldier of Love owns a game that is primarily played with kids, it is really bad. Now, the other developer Forsaken to get exposed was Haitoko. At the time, he claimed ownership of the game while Soul was getting exposed. However, the truth is there was no initial transfership legally. It was just through words. And Haitoko was extremely manipulative to his girlfriend a couple years ago or last year. And yeah, it seems that the drama regarding Forsaken is pretty bad. And you can generally get a takeaway of what this game has become. Forsaken was once an actual respected game, but now it's a whole big mess. Now, hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and I would really appreciate if you liked and subscribed because these videos take a long time. And also, just because your game is ruined doesn't mean that the legacy of the game is forgotten. Some of these games are in Roblox history. While not all of them are, some of them went down in history for some of the craziest things. Maybe a crazy admin abuse or a crazy event. You can see that these games might be gone, but it doesn't mean the legacy is.